Okay, so I'm going to do another article, which is out of, not sure if it's either out of this anthology or if it's out of the Epistemology Blackwell anthology, which is over there on the shelf. It's in one of them, I know that. It's an article which is by Peter Klein. I did one other article by him. I did his article, which is about infinitism. Great article. This one also is. This is by Peter Klein. It's a proposed definition of propositional knowledge. So it's more a response to thinking about what knowledge is, and as to what certain things or what certain constraints given belief and justified belief and other things can get to knowledge. And as you know, with Gettier, Edmund Gettier wrote a paper called "Is Justified True Belief Knowledge" in the 60s, and he kind of showed with his 2-page paper that he wrote when he was in graduate school, and then when he was a professor, he kind of dug it up and then published it. He kind of showed, given his little Jones examples and Smith, had as to whether they own a Ford and if they have 10 coins in their pockets, those kind of examples. He kind of showed via that he showed that having justified true belief does not necessitate knowledge, and there have been lots of different responses to that as to what does make knowledge. This is one of many responses, and this is Klein's response to that. It's not a response to Gettier as much as it is a response to all the responses. It's just one more take on as to what knowledge is. According to Klein, propositional knowledge has threefold conditions. Propositional knowledge. Propositional knowledge, what that is just knowledge about certain propositions. Number 1 has to be true. Number 2 has to be evident, and evident is more of an internalist sort of thing. And number 3, it has to be justified. And a definition of propositional knowledge is neutral to current epistemic issues, but it is a satisfactory epistemology. The traditional concept of knowledge is, as you know, that S knows that P if and only if number 1, P is true, number 3, S believes that P, and number 3, P is evident to S. Now that's Gettier. Roderick Chisholm has his own way. A.J. Ayer has his own way, and I've talked about more about Ayer than I think I have Chisholm. But there are a lot of different variants. The idea that S knows that P if and only if, usually 3 or 4 or 5 things that necessitate that S knows that P. It usually involves P is true, S believes P, and S is, given in a la Ayer, S has the right to be sure that P. Many different variants given Gettier, and Gettier kind of brought up this issue, and since Gettier there have been lots of different takes on it, lots of different thoughts about what makes knowledge. S knows that P if and only if what. Now Klein says that it's more reasonable for us to believe P than to withhold belief. That's what that's what S knowing that P is. And P, and the fact that P is evident to S, it's a more of an internal thing, and P being evident to S means strictly that it is more reasonable for us to believe P than to withhold belief of P. Now, there's pretty much the idea of the Felicitous Coincidence. That's if S is evidence for P, and a description of some of the particular circumstances in which S believes that P are such that it wouldn't be reasonable to expect that P is true. If P is true, S doesn't know P. Now that's the idea of the Tom Grabbit example. The Tom Grabbit example is that Tom, well, they're in this library. Tom has a identical evil twin, and that's the one who took the book. They think, and they have, it's very evident that Tom took the book, and it's very, rational to believe that Tom took the book, but it just so happens that Tom has an evil identical twin who did take it. So that's what is called, according to Klein, a felicitous coincidence. And there's also the idea, the example of the unworking watch, or the broken watch, which if a watch breaks, let me show you this, which I have here. This is a pocket watch which my fiance gave me. Me and my fiance have been together for not entirely a year yet, but almost. At Valentine's Day of this year, Valentine's Day 2013, she gave me this pocket watch, and it has it works, and pretty much if you don't wind it, it stops. So if I forget to wind it, that means it's going to be stuck at a certain position, or it's going to be stuck at a certain time. So if it's stuck at 9 o'clock, then there are 2 times in a day in which this clock will be correct. Where, let's say I look at the watch at 9, or I look at the watch at 9. The watch isn't working because I didn't wind it, and and it just so happens to be that it really is 9 when I look at the watch. That is a felicitous coincidence, and it can be shown via the idea of a felicitous coincidence, that there's something a little bit more that is required than just P being true, as believing P at T, and P being evident to us. Now, Klein and Goldman and all these different thinkers in contemporary epistemology will add a certain constraint to it. Now, Klein has his own definition that he gives here, saying that S knows that P, S is a person, P is a proposition. S knows that P if and only if, number 1, P is true, number 2, S believes P at T, number 3, P is evident to S at T, number 4, there is no true proposition such that if it became evident to S at T, P would no longer be evident to S. So there's no true proposition such that if it became evident to S at T, P would no longer be evident. So it's just kind of eliminating any kind of felicitous coincidence which could prevent a certain proposition from being knowledge. So we have the idea of a disqualifying proposition, a true proposition that P is no longer evident to us. Now, the fourth thing that Klein adds kind of eliminates disqualifying propositions, and pretty much what it does is it shows first off that number 1 follows from 4, with number 3 that the evidency of P. So where for S, it can be evident to, but not evident to another person. So Number three, P being evident to us, which means that it's evident to a certain person. This is a very internalist idea of knowledge. The idea of evidency, or something being evident to a certain person, that is a very internalist thing. A externalist would not use that kind of language, because then he would no longer be a externalist at all. But the fourth one, I'm going to say again, there is no true proposition such that if it became evident to S at T, P would no longer be evident to S. So that eliminates disqualifying propositions given the Gettier cases, given the unworking watch, given the Tom Grabbit example. All of it kind of eliminates all of it. It kind of makes it so that if there were a disqualifying proposition, that it would disqualify it from being knowledge. So it makes it so it's not possible for us to have certain cases like the Tom Grabbit case that still have some sort of knowledge, or even justification. So that's a very simple way of breaking this thing down. So if you want more in-depth look at something of this article, comment below.